Close your eyes if you haven't already, or let them rest gently open, soft and unfocused, looking at nothing in particular. Just let your body settle where it is. Feel the weight of yourself against whatever is holding you, the mattress, the cushion, the ground. Let that weight deepen. Let it spread. You don't need to hold anything right now. You don't need to be anywhere. You are already exactly where you are supposed to be. Take a breath in, slow and easy. Hold it for just a moment, just long enough to feel it, and then let it go. Let it drift out of you the way smoke drifts from a candle that has just been gently blown out. Soft, slow, complete. Tonight we are going to travel somewhere, not in any hurry, not with any particular destination in mind. We are simply going to drift, the way a leaf drifts on still water, carried not by effort, but by the gentlest current. We are going to travel outward, away from the noise and the light and the long business of the day, away from all of it, into the quiet, into the dark, into space. But first, before we go anywhere at all, let us begin right here, right where you are. Because the journey into the universe doesn't require a rocket or a telescope or even open eyes. It only requires a kind of stillness. And you are already finding that stillness now. Imagine the night sky above you, not the ceiling of wherever you are, the real sky, the one that is always there, above every ceiling, above every cloud, above every layer of pale blue air. The sky that stretches upward and outward in every direction without end. The great dark that holds everything. It is a very clear night in this imagination of ours. There are no clouds tonight. The air is clean and cool, and if you were standing outside, or lying on your back in a field somewhere, wrapped in something warm, you would be able to see everything. You would be able to see the stars in their thousands, their millions, scattered across the black like the finest dust of light you have ever imagined. And there, in the west, very low on the horizon now, because the evening is getting late, there is a faint glow. Just a remnant of light, a long, soft memory of gold and rose and the palest blue, fading at the edges where the darkness has already taken hold. That glow is the last of the sunlight. The sun has already set. It has already gone below the edge of the world, and it is making its slow way around to the other side, and the night has come in its place. Think about how often that happens. Think about how many times the sun has set. How many evenings just like this one have passed since the earth was young, since the sky first formed, since the first living thing ever lifted its face toward the warmth and then felt it cool as darkness came. Billions of evenings. Billions of times the sun has dipped below the horizon and left the sky to the stars. And billions of times, every single time, it has come back. Quietly, without fanfare, without any drama at all. Just the slow brightening of the east and the soft color spreading and the warmth returning. That is the sun's promise, the oldest promise in the world, and it is a promise that has never once been broken. But tonight, in this quiet story we are telling, in this gentle imagining we are doing together, let us wonder. Let us float a question into the darkness, the way you might float a paper boat onto a still pond. Slowly, without urgency, let the question just sit there on the surface, drifting. What if, one evening, the sun didn't come back? What if it simply stopped? Not with a bang, not with any drama, just gone. The way a flame goes out, the way a sound fades until you're not quite sure when it ended. Simply and completely and very, very quietly gone. What would happen then? Let's find out. Slowly, together. There is no hurry. The universe has all the time there is. Let us begin at the very beginning of it, at the very moment of the disappearance. You wouldn't know, not right away, not for quite some time actually, because of something remarkable about the nature of light. Light travels very fast, faster than anything else in the universe. But fast is not the same as instant. Light still takes time to get from one place to another. And from the sun to the earth, that journey, that 93 million mile crossing of empty space, takes about 8 minutes. 8 minutes and 20 seconds, give or take. So if the sun were to disappear right now, in this very quiet moment, you would not see it happen. The light that is reaching your eyes, the light that is even now, even in the dark of night, softly illuminating the moon and being gently scattered in the atmosphere, that light left the sun 8 minutes ago. It is already here, and it will keep coming. It will keep arriving on Earth for another 8 minutes after the sun is gone, carrying no knowledge of what has happened, carrying only warmth and light, the way it always has. For 8 minutes, everything would be normal. Imagine that. 8 whole minutes of ordinary life, of the ordinary world, while somewhere out there, 93 million miles away in the dark, the source of everything has silently ceased to be. The sun gone, and no one knowing. The light still coming, like a letter that has already been sent, already in the mail, already on its way. In those 8 minutes, things are calm. A bird might sing somewhere in a garden. Someone might be making tea in a warm kitchen. A child might be drifting towards sleep, just as you are now. The world would be going about its evening business, peaceful and unhurried, with no knowledge of what was waiting at the end of those 8 minutes. And then, gently, quietly, without warning, the light would stop. Not the way a light switch is flipped, not that sudden, more like the way a very long sunset finally ends. One moment there is just the faintest trace of glow still reaching across the sky, and then, between one breath and the next, it is simply no longer there. If it were daytime on your side of the earth, the sky would go dark in a way it has never gone dark before. Not the dark of night, which is soft and full of the reflected light of moon and stars. A deeper dark. A dark with no sun behind it. The sky would not gradually deepen through gold and orange and purple and indigo the way it does at sunset. It would simply, in the space of a heartbeat, become night. Stars would appear that no one had ever seen in the middle of the day before. The full spread of the Milky Way would bloom across the sky at noon, impossibly beautiful, suddenly visible to anyone who happened to be looking up. The planets would appear, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, their pale lights steady in the sudden darkness, travelers that had always been there, but always hidden in the glare. It would be, in a strange and quiet way, one of the most beautiful things anyone had ever seen. And if it were nighttime on your side of the earth, as it is right now in this story, in this gentle imagining, you might not notice the change at all, not immediately. The moon would still be there for a while, its surface still lit by the light that had already bounced off the sun and reached it before everything stopped. The stars would still be there. The sky would look almost exactly as it always has. Almost. But there would be something, some subtle wrongness. The quality of the darkness would be different. The moon, as the hours passed, would begin to grow dimmer very slowly, losing the reflected warmth of its illumination. And the night would be, just slightly, just at the edges of perception, a little more complete, a little more total, a little more of the real dark that space actually is. The first night without a sun. And still, everything would be quiet. The air still warm from the long-stored heat of the day. The earth still turning on its axis, faithful and steady, the way it has always turned. The birds settling into their roosts, the flowers closing their petals, the world doing what it always does as night comes, not yet knowing that this night was different from all the others, not yet knowing that the morning they were waiting for would not come in the way mornings always have. There is something very peaceful about those first hours, something almost like the peace you feel right now, the body settling, the breath slowing, the busy mind beginning, finally, to quiet. Rest here for a moment, in that first quiet night. Feel the warmth of the air around you. Feel the earth beneath you, solid and patient. Everything still, everything calm. The stars overhead in their ancient patterns, unchanged. The planets drifting in their orbits. The great dark of space, surrounding everything the way it always has, the way it always will. There is nothing to worry about in this story. We are only imagining. We are only wondering. And the universe is very, very large, and very, very patient. And there is room in it for all kinds of wondering. Part 3. The Cooling of the World. Days pass, gently, slowly, one after another in this imagined world. And the world begins to change. Not dramatically, not all at once, but the way all the deepest changes happen, gradually, almost imperceptibly, the way a season shifts or the way a person grows. You don't notice it moment to moment. You only notice when you look back and realize how far things have come from where they were. The first thing to change is the temperature. The earth is warm. You might not think of it that way, but the earth holds an enormous amount of heat in its oceans, in its land, in its rocks, in the slow, deep churning of its molten interior. Even without the sun, the earth would not turn cold overnight. It would cool slowly. The first week might feel like an unusually cold winter coming on, the kind of cold that makes you pull your blanket a little tighter and be grateful for the warmth of the bed. In the tropics, the cooling would begin as a long, gentle autumn. In places that were already cold, the northern forests, the high mountains, the edges of the polar regions, the cold would simply deepen, settling in like a long, long winter with no spring in sight. The oceans would help. They are so vast, so deep, so full of stored warmth that they would act like a great slow radiator, releasing their heat gradually into the air above them. The coast would stay warmer longer. The sea would breathe its slow, warm breath over the land, not willing to let go of the sun's memory so easily. And here is a beautiful thing. Here is something that deserves a moment of quiet wonder. The snow would come. In this imagined world, as the temperatures slowly fall across the middle latitudes, across the temperate places that are used to seasons but not to permanent cold, snow would begin to fall. Not in blizzards, not in storms, but softly, the way the best snow always falls, coming down out of a dark sky in large, slow, silent flakes, settling on every surface, covering everything in white. And without the sun to melt it, it would stay. It would accumulate. Week after week it would deepen, the world growing quieter under every new layer, sound becoming more and more muffled, the landscape becoming more and more smooth and white and still. There is something very beautiful about snow at night. You may have noticed this. The way it seems to hold a kind of light of its own. A gentle blue-white glow that has nothing to do with any particular light source, that comes from nowhere and everywhere at once. In a world without a sun, that strange luminosity of snow would be one of the most constant, most gentle sources of light. The whole world softly glowing with its own whiteness. Every field, every forest, every rooftop covered in this quiet glow, and the stars above. In a world without the sun's scattered glare, in an atmosphere that would gradually become clearer and calmer as weather systems slowed and quieted, the stars would be more visible than they have ever been in the history of human eyes. The Milky Way, that great arm of our galaxy that we can sometimes barely make out even on the clearest nights because of all our city lights and atmospheric haze, would blaze across the sky like a river of light. Billions of stars, billions of suns, each one a story of its own, stretching from one horizon to the other in a band of impossible beauty. Imagine lying back in the snow. You are very warm, you are perfectly comfortable. This is only imagination. And looking up at that sky, the cold air above you, perfectly still, the ground beneath you soft and white, and overhead, the whole universe spread out in a way that human beings have almost never seen it. The full depth and brilliance of the cosmos, unhidden, unfiltered, right there. It would be very quiet. Sound travels differently in a world growing cold. It becomes softer, more muffled, more hesitant. The world would seem to be holding its breath, and perhaps you would hold yours for just a moment, looking up at all of that. Just a moment of pure stillness, of pure seeing, before the breath came back, slow and easy and warm in the cold air. That is where we are now in this story, in the middle of a beautiful, impossible winter, the world resting, the stars brilliant overhead, the snow covering everything in silence. Let your own body feel that stillness now. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands open just slightly, the fingers softening, the weight of you settling deeper into whatever is holding you. The breath going in and out, steady and slow. The world cooling, the stars shining, everything very, very quiet. Part 4. The solar system without its center. Now let us drift a little further from home. Let us lift ourselves gently and slowly above the cooling earth, above the white fields and the quiet forests, and the sleeping cities, and the vast dark oceans. Let us rise up through the layers of the atmosphere, through the troposphere, where all the weather lives, through the stratosphere, where the air grows thin and still, through the mesosphere and the thermosphere, and the very outermost layer, where the last few molecules of air are so sparse they are barely distinguishable from the space beyond them. And then we are through, into the real dark, into space. Look back. The Earth is there below us, pale and white, whiter than it has ever looked before, its surface covered in that slowly spreading blanket of snow and ice, reflecting the starlight back up toward us in a soft blue-white shimmer. It is very beautiful. It looks like a Christmas ornament, something delicate and precious, turning slowly in the dark. And now look outward. Look at the rest of the solar system. Without the sun at its center, everything continues. The planets are still there. They are still moving. They have been orbiting the sun for 4.5 billion years. And the momentum of that long orbiting does not simply stop because the object being orbited is gone. It takes time for things to change in space, enormous amounts of time. The universe does not hurry. Mercury is still there, the smallest planet, the closest to where the sun used to be. It is a small, dark world, barely larger than our moon, its surface pockmarked with ancient craters. Without the sun's heat, Mercury, which used to experience temperatures of 400 degrees Celsius on its day side, will simply grow cold. Its surface is already extreme. Without the sun, it will become extreme in a different direction. Cold and dark and still, its ancient craters filling slowly with frost, its rocky plains going quiet under the stars. Venus is there too, the bright one, the morning star and the evening star, the planet that has always been the brightest object in the sky after the sun and moon. Without the sun's light to scatter in its thick clouds, Venus goes dark. But it is an interesting kind of dark. Venus has an atmosphere so dense, so full of carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid, that it holds heat with remarkable stubbornness, like a blanket drawn very tight. Venus will cool, but slowly, slowly, its thick air reluctant to let go of the warmth that has stored across billions of years of being close to the sun. And Mars, red Mars, the rust-colored world that has always seemed to beckon to us, to whisper of possibilities, of other lives in other times. Mars is cold already. Its thin atmosphere, barely 1% as thick as ours, provides almost no insulation. What little warmth Mars had will leave it quickly. The carbon dioxide frost that already covers its poles will spread. The red dust will settle under a layer of ice. Mars will become a small, dark, cold, quiet world, drifting through the dark. Beyond Mars, the asteroid belt, millions of rocks and boulders and small worldlets tumbling slowly in their ancient paths around where the sun used to be. They will not stop. They will not scatter. They will simply continue, as they have continued for billions of years, following the invisible grooves of gravity, making their slow circuits in the dark. There is something meditative about the asteroids, something steady and patient. They have been doing this for so long, they will keep doing it. And then, beyond the asteroid belt, the gas giants begin. Jupiter, oh Jupiter. There are no words quite adequate for Jupiter. It is so large, so enormously, improbably, magnificently large. 11 times the diameter of the Earth. More than 1,300 Earths could fit inside it.
Its great red spot, that enormous ancient storm, that hurricane larger than the entire Earth, has been spinning for at least 350 years that we know of, and perhaps much longer. Jupiter is mostly gas, hydrogen and helium, swirling in beautiful bands of cream and brown and orange and white. Without the sun to illuminate those clouds, Jupiter would go dark to our eyes. But it would not go cold, not quickly. Jupiter generates its own heat from within, the slow gravitational compression of its immense interior radiating warmth outward. Jupiter has its own glow, faint and deep, like a banked fire. It would not need the sun to stay warm, not for a very long time. And around Jupiter, its moons, the great family of Jovian moons, 4 of them visible even with a small telescope on any clear night from Earth. Io, with its volcanoes, its sulfurous plains, its orange and yellow surface that looks like a cosmic pizza. Europa, with its smooth, icy shell, and the liquid ocean that scientists believe lies beneath it, kept liquid not by the sun's warmth, but by the tidal forces of Jupiter's enormous gravity, squeezing and flexing the moon with every orbit, generating heat from within. Ganymede and Callisto, large and cratered, ancient and patient, going about their long circuits. Europa is worth pausing for. Under that ice, in that hidden ocean, there might be, no one knows for certain, but there might be life. Simple, small life, perhaps, huddled around the hydrothermal vents at the bottom of that dark sea, living on the chemical energy of the water and the rock. Life that has never needed the sun. Life that would not notice its absence. Life going on in the dark, in the deep, perfectly content. That idea is worth holding for a moment, that somewhere in this scenario, in this sunless solar system, life might simply continue, unchanged, unhurried, going about its ancient business in the dark waters beneath the ice, completely unaware that anything had happened at all. There is something very comforting about that thought. Beyond Jupiter, Saturn, with its rings, with those extraordinary, impossible, breathtaking rings. The rings of Saturn are made of ice and rock, billions of particles ranging in size from tiny grains of frost to house-sized chunks of ice, all spread out in a disk so thin relative to its width that if you scaled the rings down to a piece of paper, the paper would be thicker. And yet they span 280,000 kilometers from one edge to the other. They catch light in ways that nothing else in the solar system catches light, refracting and scattering and shimmering. Without the sun, the rings would lose that shimmer. They would not vanish, They would still be there, still orbiting, still perfectly maintaining their ancient structure. But they would be dark, only the faint light of distant stars to illuminate them. And in that faint illumination, if you were close enough, you might see them still, vast and ghostly and silent, the most beautiful thing in the solar system, still going around and around in the dark. Saturn has its moons too, Titan the largest, with its thick orange atmosphere and its lakes of liquid methane and its ancient chemical complexity. Scientists have long wondered if Titan might one day, given enough time, develop life of its own. A different kind of life than anything on Earth. Life that uses liquid methane as its solvent instead of water. Life adapted to extreme cold and strange chemistry. Without the sun, Titan would grow colder still. But Titan is already very cold. It might not change as much as you would think. And then beyond Saturn, the ice giants. Uranus, tilted on its side for reasons that are still not fully understood, rolling through space like a top knocked sideways. Neptune, the farthest of the planets, a deep blue world with the fastest winds in the solar system, storms that circle the planet at 2,100 kilometers per hour. These distant worlds barely feel the sun's warmth even now. They live in a twilight so deep that sunlight reaching them is little brighter than starlight. For them, the sun's disappearance would change very little. They would continue as they always have, cold, blue, serene, far away. And beyond Neptune, the edge of things, the Kuiper belt, where Pluto and its companions drift in their distant orbits, the scattered disk. And beyond all of that, the Oort cloud, an enormous sphere of icy objects surrounding the solar system in every direction, so far from the center that even at the speed of light, it would take more than a year to reach the outermost edges. The Oort cloud is so far away, so cold, so dark, so utterly remote, that the sun's disappearance might not reach it in any meaningful way for a very long time. Out there, in those vast distances, the sun was already just a star among stars, already just a bright point of light, indistinguishable from the rest except for being slightly closer. The Oort cloud objects would continue their slow, long orbits, unmoved and unaware. This is the solar system without its center, not destroyed, not scattered, simply continuing, moving through the dark with all the gentle, patient momentum of 4.5 billion years. Each world still following its path, each moon still going around its planet, each asteroid still tumbling, each ring particle still orbiting. There is something very peaceful about that, something very reassuring about the stubbornness of orbits, about the way things continue. Let your breath be like that now. Let it continue on its own. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to manage it. Your body knows how. Your body has always known how. Just let it go in and out, steady and slow, the way the planets go around and around, the way things continue in the dark. There is one more thing that happens when the sun disappears.
Something that happens slowly. So slowly you might not notice it right away, but something that is perhaps the most profound change of all. The solar system begins to drift. The sun was not just a source of light and heat. The sun was the gravitational anchor of the entire solar system. Its enormous mass, 330,000 times the mass of the Earth, accounting for 99.86% of all the mass in the solar system, was the thing that held everything in orbit. The invisible thread connecting every planet, every moon, every asteroid, every comet to the center. When the sun disappears, that thread is cut. Not all at once, not instantly. Gravity, like light, travels at a finite speed. It travels, in fact, at exactly the same speed as light, because gravity is not a thing that flows through space, but a curvature of space itself, and changes in that curvature spread outward at the speed of light. So the news of the sun's absence would reach the Earth in the same 8 minutes that the last light did. And then the Earth would stop being in orbit. It would not fly apart, it would not shatter. It would simply do what any object does when the force holding it in a curved path is removed. It would continue in a straight line. Or what would be a straight line if space were perfectly flat, which it is not, because even without the Sun, there is still the background curvature of space-time created by every other massive object in the galaxy. But in the simplest terms, the Earth would leave its orbit. It would begin to travel in a direction rather than in a circle. It would head out into the galaxy. This is not a violent event. There would be no lurch, no jolt, no sense of something changing. The Earth would simply begin, very gently, to move in a new direction. Outward. Into the dark. Into the space between the stars. And this journey, this long, slow drift through the galaxy, would be quiet. Extraordinarily quiet. Space is very empty.
The nearest star to our Sun, Proxima Centauri, is about 4.2 light-years away. At the Earth's current speed as it orbits the Sun, about 30 kilometers per second, it would take roughly 40,000 years to travel that distance, if it happened to be heading in exactly the right direction, which it wouldn't be. More likely, the Earth would simply drift through the vast emptiness between the stars, passing through interstellar space, that enormous, nearly perfect vacuum that occupies most of the galaxy, for thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, perhaps millions. Moving through the dark at 30 kilometers per second, which sounds fast, but which is nothing at all, against the scale of the galaxy. And during all that time, it would be quiet. The Earth would be cold by now, of course, very cold. Over years and decades, the remaining warmth of the planet would slowly radiate away into space. The oceans would freeze first at their surfaces, and then deeper and deeper, until all the water was solid. The atmosphere might freeze too, eventually, the nitrogen and oxygen that make up most of our air becoming liquid and then solid and settling as frost on the surface, so that the Earth would become a ball of ice drifting through the dark, its surface covered in the frozen remnants of what had once been sky. But deep inside the Earth, the molten core would still be there, still hot, still slowly convecting, still generating the magnetic field that surrounds the planet. The interior of the Earth is heated by the radioactive decay of elements laid down when the solar system formed: uranium, thorium, potassium, and that heat source would continue for billions of years, regardless of what happened to the Sun. The heart of the Earth would be warm long after its surface was frozen, and the journey would be beautiful in its way. Imagine floating just above the frozen surface of that drifting Earth, looking up at the sky. As the Earth moved through interstellar space over thousands of years, the patterns of the constellations would very slowly shift. Stars that seemed fixed to us across the span of a human lifetime are in fact moving, all of them, drifting through the galaxy on their own trajectories. Over thousands of years, the shapes we know would slowly distort and reform into new shapes. Orion would become something else. The Big Dipper would become unrecognizable. The sky would be constantly, imperceptibly changing, a slow and stately dance of light. New stars would come closer and drift away again. From time to time, a star might be close enough to brighten noticeably in the sky, not close enough to provide warmth, but close enough to be seen as a bright disk rather than a point, to be a companion in the dark for a few thousand years, before passing and receding again. And the galaxy itself, the Milky Way, seen from a drifting Earth in interstellar space, it would be extraordinary. Without any atmosphere to scatter light, without any haze or pollution or city glow, the galaxy would be spread across the sky in its full, unfiltered glory. A river of light from horizon to horizon. Billions of suns, each one a world of its own, each one potentially surrounded by planets of its own, each one burning with its own quiet light. The grand structure of the galaxy, its arms spiraling outward from its central bar, its dense core glowing with a warmth
That is not warmth exactly, but the accumulated light of billions of ancient suns, would be visible as it never has been from a planet in the middle of a solar system. It would be the most beautiful sight in the universe. And the drifting Earth would pass through it slowly, patiently, taking millions of years to cross from one arm of the galaxy to another. The stars changing overhead, the great patterns shifting like clouds in a long, long dream. You are drifting now too. Can you feel it? The slow, gentle drift of your own mind towards sleep. The thoughts becoming less insistent, less clear, more like passing lights than like anything you need to follow. Let them pass. Let them drift. You don't need to hold on to any of them. They will come back in the morning, or they won't, and either way is fine. Just drift, slowly, gently, out into the quiet dark. Part 6. The Stars Themselves. Let us leave the drifting Earth behind for a moment. Let us float further out. Let us look at the stars. Every star in the sky is a sun. Every single point of light is a star, a ball of hot plasma held together by its own gravity, powered by nuclear fusion in its core, shining with the energy of hydrogen being slowly converted into helium, radiating warmth and light into the space around it. Every star is the center of its own kingdom of gravity, its own potential family of worlds. There are more stars in the observable universe than there are grains of sand on all of Earth's beaches, more stars than there have been seconds since the Big Bang. The number is so large, it loses all meaning when you try to hold it in your mind. Let it go. Let the number simply be what it is, a vastness that cannot be contained in any mind, that can only be pointed toward and wondered at. Look at the nearest ones, the stars that are our closest neighbors in this part of the galaxy. Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to our sun. It is a red dwarf, a small, cool, dim star, so dim that despite being our nearest neighbor, you cannot see it with the naked eye from Earth. It is barely a tenth the size of our sun, burning so slowly and so carefully that it will live for trillions of years. Our sun will be gone, exhausted, turned into a white dwarf, and then slowly cooling into darkness, long before Proxima Centauri begins to run low on fuel. Proxima Centauri has a planet, a rocky world in its habitable zone called Proxima b, orbiting close to its small, dim star.
Whether that planet has an atmosphere, whether it has water, whether it has anything that we would recognize as comfortable, we do not know yet. But it is there. A world. The nearest world beyond our solar system. Alpha Centauri, the bright pair just slightly further away. Two stars orbiting each other, a binary system, their mutual gravity keeping them in a stately dance around a shared center of mass. They look like one star to the naked eye, the third brightest star in the sky, but through a telescope they separate into two distinct lights, close and warm, going around each other in 79 years. Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, twice the mass of our sun, 25 times more luminous, burning hotter and bluer. Sirius has a companion too, a white dwarf, the cooling remnant of what was once a star even larger than Sirius itself. That white dwarf is called Sirius B, and it is tiny compared to its companion, barely larger than the Earth, but extraordinarily dense, a tablespoon of its material weighing as much as a small car. Betelgeuse, the red supergiant in the shoulder of Orion, a star so large that if it were placed at the center of our solar system, it would engulf Mercury and Venus and Earth and Mars and reach almost to Jupiter. Betelgeuse is old. It is burning through its fuel quickly, the way very large things tend to burn quickly, spending their resources fast and bright. Astronomers believe that Betelgeuse will explode in a supernova sometime in the next 100,000 years.
which in cosmic terms is very soon, almost imminent. When it does, it will be visible from Earth in broad daylight for weeks. It will be as bright as the full moon. A temporary second sun in the sky, fading slowly over months as the explosion expands into space. That explosion, when it comes, will be spectacular. But it will also be, in its way, very quiet. Sound does not travel through space. There is no medium to carry it.
The supernova will happen in complete silence from our perspective. A blaze of light spreading and fading. A new nebula forming slowly in the remains of what was once a star. New elements scattered into space. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, iron, gold. All the elements heavier than hydrogen and helium forged in the furnaces of stellar interiors and then released when the star dies. New building blocks for new worlds. New raw materials for whatever might come next. We are made of that material. Every element in your body heavier than hydrogen was forged inside a star that died before the sun was born. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in every cell, all of it was made inside a star, in the heat and pressure of a stellar core, and then scattered through space when that star died, and then gathered by gravity over billions of years, and eventually incorporated into the cloud of gas and dust that became the solar system, and then into the Earth, and then into you. You are made of starlight, quite literally, not poetically, chemically, physically, actually. The atoms of your body were inside stars. They have traveled unimaginable distances and spent unimaginable amounts of time getting from there to here. They will travel unimaginable distances and spend unimaginable amounts of time going on from here to wherever they go next, long after any individual self has finished using them. There is something deeply restful about that thought, about belonging to the universe in that way, about being part of a process so large and so old and so continuous that no individual moment, no individual difficulty, no individual worry can take up very much space in it. You are not separate from the stars. You are a temporary arrangement of stardust, thinking about stars. And that is a wonderful thing to be. Let your body feel its own weight now, the comfortable heaviness of a body that has worked through its day and is ready to rest. Feel how the bed holds you, the way the earth holds everything, patiently, completely, without asking anything in return. Feel how the breath moves in you, automatic and steady, how your heart beats without any instruction from you, doing its quiet work in the dark of your chest. All of it is stardust. All of it is the universe, arranged temporarily into the shape of you, resting in the dark, listening to a story about stars. Part 7. The Deep Time. Let us go further now, further out in space and further forward in time. In this imagining of ours, the solar system has been drifting for a very long time. Millions of years have passed. The Earth, frozen and quiet, has made its slow way through interstellar space, past one star and then another, seeing the constellations shift and reform and shift again. The moon is still with us. The moon's orbit around the Earth has nothing to do with the sun and would continue regardless, the two bodies keeping their ancient company with each other through the dark. The Earth-Moon system, drifting together. The moon still going around the Earth every 27 days, still pulling at the frozen oceans with its gravity, still raising the tides in the ice, very small tides, barely noticeable, but tides nonetheless. The faithful relationship between the Earth and its moon, unchanged by any of this. In 100 million years, perhaps, a close approach to another star. Not a collision. Space is too empty for collisions, even when things are nearby by stellar standards. But a star passing close enough to be a presence, to be warm in the sky, to brighten the frozen surface of the Earth for a few 100,000 years with a cold, distant light. The ice might not melt,
The star might not be close enough or warm enough, but there would be light, a new kind of light from a new sun, for a little while. And then that star too would pass by, and the Earth would continue in the dark. Think about what happens over billions of years.
The radioactive elements in the Earth's core continue to decay, continue to provide warmth, continue to drive the convection currents in the mantle. The Earth's magnetic field continues to exist. The interior of the Earth remains geologically active for a very long time, billions of years more, regardless of the surface conditions. In the very deep interior, far beneath the frozen surface, beneath the frozen oceans, beneath the frozen crust, the Earth's interior remains warm. Not warm enough for surface life as we know it, but warm enough for the possibility of something else. Something that lives in rock. Something that lives on chemical energy. Extremophiles, the kind of life that already exists in the deep rocks of the Earth today. Bacteria that have been living in solid stone for millions of years, completely isolated from the surface world, completely independent of the sun. Those bacteria might survive. Deep in the warm rock of the interior, they might continue for millions, perhaps billions of years after the surface goes cold, living their tiny, slow, patient lives in the dark of the rock, utterly unaware of anything happening above them. Life is very stubborn. Life finds ways. The history of life on Earth is largely the history of life finding ways to survive conditions that would seem to make survival impossible. Boiling hot springs, acid lakes, the vacuum at the edge of space, the crushing pressure of the deepest ocean trenches. Life is there. Life is always there, where we least expect it, doing its patient work. And over billions of years, the galaxy itself changes. The Milky Way continues its slow rotation, each star making its long circuit around the galactic center over the course of 225 million years. In about 4 billion years, which would be, in this scenario, about 4 billion years after the Sun disappeared, the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy will begin to merge. This is a collision of galaxies, but do not imagine it as a violent crash, the way two cars might collide. Galaxies are mostly empty space. When two galaxies merge, their stars rarely actually hit each other. The distances between individual stars are too vast. Instead, it is a slow, gravitational dance. A billion-year process of the two galaxies intertwining, their stars passing through each other's spaces, the gravity of each affecting the other, new shapes forming, new patterns emerging. The night sky during the merger would be extraordinary. Stars from Andromeda would appear, first as a distant smear of light, growing slowly larger over millions of years, then as individual points filling the sky in greater and greater numbers, the entire dome of the night becoming denser and brighter and more complex as two galactic populations intermixed. Eventually, after a billion years or so, the two galaxies would settle into one, a new, larger, rounder galaxy. Astronomers call this kind an elliptical galaxy. The beautiful spiral arms of both the Milky Way and Andromeda would be gone, merged into a more uniform distribution of stars. A new cosmic structure, a new home for whoever or whatever might be out there to see it. The drifting Earth, if it still exists, if it has not been caught by another star's gravity and drawn into a new orbit, if it has not been perturbed by the galactic merger into some new trajectory. The drifting Earth would be in the middle of all of this, surrounded by the intermingling of two galaxies, the sky ablaze with more stars than any human eye ever saw. The universe doing something it has done billions of times before, and will do billions of times again. Two things becoming one, slowly, gently, over an incomprehensible span of time. Deep time. That is the phrase scientists use, deep time. The time that is not years or centuries or even millennia, but billions of years. The time in which stars are born and die,
in which galaxies merge and reform,
in which the universe itself slowly expands, cooling as it goes, the space between everything growing ever so slightly larger with every moment that passes. We live in a window of deep time, a particular moment in a particular configuration of matter and energy and space. And it is a very beautiful moment. The stars are neither too young nor too old. The universe is neither too hot nor too cold. Life is possible. Thought is possible. Stories are possible. You are possible. And right now, in this moment, you are resting, your body releasing the day, your mind growing soft and slow. The deep time of the universe surrounding you on all sides, patient and vast, and utterly indifferent to whether you are anxious about tomorrow. Because deep time doesn't know about tomorrow. Deep time only knows about billions of years. And your tomorrow is so small and so brief and so warm and so full of possibility that it fits in the universe like a single star fits in the galaxy. Perfectly, exactly right, exactly where it belongs. Sleep now, or keep resting. Either is fine. The universe will wait. Part 8. Other suns, other worlds. Let us go even further. Let us leave the solar system entirely. Let us drift out into the galaxy and visit some of the other suns, the other worlds, the other stories being told in other parts of this enormous, patient cosmos. There are billions of stars in the Milky Way. Estimates suggest somewhere between 200 and 400 billion, a number so large it is essentially meaningless without context. The galaxy is roughly 100,000 light-years across. If you could somehow visit one star per second, it would take thousands of years to visit them all. And we have only visited one, ours, and only with machines, and only barely. But we can imagine, we can drift. Imagine a red dwarf star in a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the crowded galactic center, out in one of the spiral arms where stars are more spread out, more isolated. This red dwarf is old, much older than our sun. Red dwarfs burn so slowly, so carefully, that many of them will still be burning long after every other type of star has exhausted its fuel. This star has been burning for 10 billion years. It will burn for another 90 billion more. Around it, a planet. Close to the star because red dwarfs are so dim that the habitable zone, the distance at which temperatures allow liquid water, is very close in. The planet is tidally locked, which means it always shows the same face to its star, the way our moon always shows the same face to us. One side is always day, warm and lit. The other side is always night, cold and dark. And in the middle, around the edge between day and night, there is a narrow ring of perpetual twilight, where the temperature is neither too hot nor too cold, where the light is always the dim red glow of a sunset that never ends. Imagine standing in that twilight band. The sky above you is a deep orange red, the color of the most beautiful sunset you have ever seen, but constant, unchanging, because the sun never moves from its position near the horizon. The star hangs there, large and dim and red, its light warm and ancient. Around you, if there is life, it would be adapted to this light. Plants might be black, absorbing every wavelength of the dim red star to make the most of what little energy is available. The sky might be a different shade of blue, or not blue at all, depending on the composition of the atmosphere. In a place like that, the sun never rises and never sets. It just sits there, on the edge of everything, steady and eternal. No days, no nights, only the perpetual twilight of a world forever balanced between light and dark. There is something beautiful about that, and something strange,
a world without the rhythm of day and night, without the cue that tells living things when to wake and when to sleep. Life there, if it exists, would have to find other rhythms, other reasons for the pulse of activity and rest that biological systems seem to need. Or perhaps not. Perhaps on such a world, life would simply be continuous, always active, always present, not structured by the alternation of light and dark, but by something else entirely, something we can't quite imagine, because we have never lived anywhere but a world with a rising and a setting sun. Let us drift to another star, a binary system. 2 stars, one slightly larger and bluer than our sun, one smaller and yellower, orbiting each other in a complex dance. Around the larger star, at a careful distance, a planet that somehow manages to maintain a stable orbit, despite the gravitational complexity of its 2-sun system. On that planet, there are 2 shadows for every object in the light. When both suns are above the horizon, everything casts 2 shadows in slightly different directions. Sunsets are long and elaborate affairs, one sun setting while the other is still high, the sky going through color changes that last for hours as the second sun slowly descends. There are brief periods of what might be called night, when both suns are below the horizon simultaneously, but they are infrequent and short. Most of the time, one sun or the other is always up somewhere. A world with almost no night. A world where stars are rarely seen from the surface, because the sky is almost always lit by one sun or the other. Would life on such a world ever look up and wonder? Would it ever have developed the kind of astronomy that requires darkness, that requires the patience to sit in the night and watch the slow wheel of the stars? We don't know. We can only wonder. Let us drift to one more star, far across the galaxy. This one is very old, almost as old as the galaxy itself. It was born in the first billion years, when the universe was still young and hot and dense, when the first generation of stars were forming from the primordial hydrogen that emerged from the Big Bang. Those first stars were enormous, hundreds of times the mass of our sun, and they burned bright and fast and died in spectacular supernovae that scattered the first heavy elements into the universe. From those scattered elements, a second generation of stars formed, including this one, very old, very patient, burning quietly for 10 billion years in a corner of the galaxy. Around it, planets, old enough that if life had ever formed there, it would have had 10 billion years to do whatever life does. 10 billion years to evolve, to change, to develop complexity. Our own Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and look what 4.5 billion years of life has produced. 10 billion years is more than twice that. We don't know if there is life there. We don't know if life is common in the universe or rare, if it emerges wherever conditions allow, or only in special circumstances that are unusual. We don't know if intelligent life is a frequent development or an extraordinary accident. We don't know. We are only beginning to look. But the possibility is there. The possibility hangs in the air like a question that hasn't been answered yet, like a door that hasn't been opened. Somewhere out there, around one of those billions of stars, in the middle of all that enormous quiet space, there might be something that also wonders, something that also tells stories, something that also lies in the dark, in the middle of the night, and thinks about the stars. That thought is worth carrying into sleep. Part 9. The Silence of Space. Space is quiet. Not just quiet, silent. Completely, perfectly, absolutely silent. Because sound requires a medium to travel through. It is a wave of compression in air or water or solid material. A wave that needs something to compress. And space, the space between stars and galaxies, is very nearly a perfect vacuum. A few atoms per cubic meter. Not nothing, but close enough to nothing that any sound wave attempting to travel through it would die within meters, swallowed by the vastness. The universe is full of energy, electromagnetic radiation of every wavelength,
Radio waves, microwaves, infrared light, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, all of it streaming through space in every direction. The accumulated output of every star and galaxy and quasar and nebula that has ever existed. If you had the right kind of ears that could hear radio waves or X-rays, space would be deafeningly loud. There would be noise everywhere, constantly, the overlapping outputs of billions of galaxies. But to human ears, to the ears that evolved on a planet surrounded by air, silence. Stars explode in silence. Galaxies collide in silence. Black holes consume entire solar systems in silence. The great events of the universe happen without making a sound that anything in the universe can hear. It is the most profound silence there is. Not the silence of an empty room or a quiet forest, but the silence of a universe that has no use for sound at all. Astronauts have described the experience of being in space, not outside a spacecraft necessarily, but in the peculiar acoustic quality of a pressurized vehicle in a vacuum. When the engines are off and nothing is running, the silence is unlike anything on Earth. Not just the absence of noise, but the presence of a quality of quiet that seems to have depth and texture to it. A silence that you can almost lean into. That is the silence of space, the permanent underlying silence of the universe. And there is something about that silence that is not frightening but restful, something that is not empty but full. The same way a good silence between friends is full of understanding, of ease, of the lack of any need to fill the space with words. The universe's silence is like that.
Not the silence of absence, but the silence of something that simply does not require sound to be what it is. Let your own space be quiet right now. If there are sounds around you, the distant sounds of the night, the sounds of the house settling, the sound of your own breath, let them be part of the silence rather than interruptions of it. Let them float in the quiet the way stars float in the dark, present but not demanding. The breath going in and out, slow, slower. Each exhale a little longer than the one before, releasing a little more tension, a little more of the grip that the day tends to leave in the body. You are very far from anywhere right now, very far from any demand or urgency. You are in the silence between stars. Rest there. Stay there for as long as you like. There is nothing required of you in the silence of space. Nothing to do, nothing to produce, nothing to figure out. Only the slow drift of the mind through the dark. Only the quiet progression of one thought gently giving way to another, like one star passing into the distance as another slowly comes closer. The universe has been doing this for 13.8 billion years. The slow, patient, silent process of matter and energy arranging and rearranging itself. Stars forming from gas clouds forming from the wreckage of dead stars. Planets coalescing from the leftover material of new stars. Life arising on the surfaces of planets where conditions allow. And then life, eventually, lying on its back in the dark, in a quiet room, on a spinning planet, orbiting an ordinary star, in one of billions of galaxies in an expanding universe. And thinking about all of this. You are the universe thinking about itself. That is what a conscious being is. A way for the cosmos to look at itself, to wonder at itself, to be amazed at its own existence. And right now, the universe is resting. You are resting. The same thing, from two different angles. Part 10. The Long Dream. We have come a long way tonight, from the last light of an imagined sunset, through the gentle cooling of a sunless world, out through the solar system and beyond to the stars, forward through millions and billions of years of deep time, and back again to this, to here, to the silence, to the dark, to the breath moving in and out. And the sun? In our imagining, the sun is gone. Silently, gently, without drama, it simply ceased to be. And the universe continued. The planets continued. The stars continued. Life, in its patient and stubborn way, continued. Deep in the rock of a frozen earth, in the hidden ocean of Europa, perhaps on 1,000 other worlds around 1,000 other stars, life continued. The universe did not end. It only changed. That is worth remembering. The universe does not end. It only changes. Everything that has ever existed is still here, in some form. The atoms that made the first stars are still here. In your body, in the ground, in the air. The energy that powered the Big Bang is still here, spread out and diluted across the expanding universe. But here, nothing is lost. Everything transforms. The universe is very old and very patient and very good at continuing. And the sun, our own actual sun, is there, right now, on the other side of the earth, making its slow arc through the sky on the other side of the world. It rose this morning for someone else and will rise tomorrow morning for you. It is not going anywhere. It has enough hydrogen to burn for another 5 billion years. Your great-great-great-grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren, to a depth of generations that you cannot imagine, will stand under this same sun. 5 billion years. Half again as long as the solar system has already existed. An almost incomprehensible span of time stretching out ahead, full of whatever life and thought and wonder and sleep will occupy it. The sun is fine. The sun is there. The sun will be there tomorrow. And tomorrow is not something you need to worry about right now.
Tomorrow will take care of itself, the way the sun always comes back. The way things that seemed uncertain always seem so much more manageable in the light of a new morning. Tonight, there was only the dark and the quiet and the slow movement of the breath. Let us come back slowly now. From the galaxies and the deep time and the frozen earth drifting between the stars. Back to the solar system, pulling inward toward the sun. Back to the warm planet circling at just the right distance. Back through the atmosphere, through the cool night air. Back to wherever you are. Back to the room. Back to the warmth. Back to the familiar weight of a body in a bed. The stars are still out there. They will be there all night, whether you are watching them or not. The planets are still drifting in their ancient orbits. The moon is doing what the moon does, rising or setting, or hanging somewhere in its long arc across the sky. The earth is turning, as it always turns, carrying you through the dark toward morning. You don't have to do anything about any of it. You don't have to hold anything together. The universe is very, very good at holding itself together. Gravity is doing its work. Orbital mechanics are doing their work. The sun is doing its work. Your heart is doing its work. Your breath is doing its work. Everything is doing exactly what it needs to do, including you, right now, resting. Resting is not nothing. Resting is essential. Every living thing rests. The earth rests in a way when winter comes and everything goes quiet under the snow. Stars rest in a way, in the long, patient burning of their hydrogen, their light steady and unhurried, a form of rest even in their constant radiance. Even the universe rests, in the long, cool stretches between energetic events, in the vast silences between galaxies. Rest is not absence. Rest is preparation. It is the gathering of what will be needed. It is the quiet work of the night. Your body is doing that quiet work right now, healing small things, consolidating memories, refreshing the systems that will carry you through tomorrow. All of it happening without any effort from you, all of it handled, all of it taken care of. All you have to do is breathe. And you are already doing that. The breath going in, cool and easy, filling you from the bottom up, the belly rising first and then the chest, the whole rib cage gently expanding, and then going out, long and slow, all the air leaving, the body returning to quiet. And then the pause, the brief, still moment before the next breath begins, the body's own silence between its own stars. In and out, and in and out. The constellations are turning overhead, the great wheel of the sky making its slow nightly arc, the same arc it has made every night for billions of years, the same arc it will make long after any human eyes are around to watch it. Orion rising in the east, making his slow crossing, setting in the west. The Big Dipper circling the North Star, never rising and never setting for those of us in northern latitudes, just going around and around in an eternal, patient circle. The stars do not tire of this. They will circle all night, as they always have. And you can let go of the watching. You don't need to track anything. You don't need to follow anything. Let the stars go around without you tonight. Let the universe do its work without your attention on it. Your attention can rest. Your attention can drift down into the body, into the warmth, into the comfortable weight of rest, down into the place where thoughts become images, where images become dreams, where dreams become the long, soft dark of sleep. That's where we're going now, down into that dark, down into that soft, warm, quiet place. Part 11. Into sleep. The sky outside is full of stars. Wherever you are, whatever the weather, whatever the light pollution, there are stars above you. Hundreds of billions of them in the galaxy. Billions of galaxies in the observable universe. The enormous, patient, silent space full of light and time and matter in all its forms. And you are here. In this particular place, on this particular planet, on this particular night. One arrangement of stardust among all the arrangements of stardust, temporary and precious, and perfectly placed in this moment, in this darkness, in this quiet. Let the body be heavy now. Let it sink. Let every muscle that has been holding any tension, in the shoulders, in the jaw, in the hands, in the back, let each of them release one by one, the way stars go out one by one across the face of a nebula as it cools and dims, slowly, one at a time, the tension leaving, the weight deepening, the body becoming more and more settled into rest. The feet, let them go soft. Let them release. Whatever they've been carrying today, let it go. They don't need to carry it anymore. The calves and the shins, softening, heavy. The knees, the thighs, releasing any last tension, settling down, heavy and warm. The hips and the pelvis, wide and relaxed, spreading their weight evenly, resting completely. The lower back. Sometimes this is where the day accumulates, where the weight of hours sits and holds. Let it go now. Let the lower back soften against whatever is beneath it. Feel it release. The belly, rising and falling with the breath, easy and slow. No need to hold it in or pull it tight, just resting, just breathing. The chest, the heart doing its quiet work, the lungs doing their quiet work. No effort required, no attention needed, just the automatic grace of a body that knows how to take care of itself. The shoulders, drop them, even lower, a little lower still. There, feel the difference. All that holding, all that slight upward tension, let it go. Let the shoulders fall toward the mattress or the floor, or wherever they are resting. Let gravity take them. Let them be heavy. The arms, the elbows, the wrists,
the hands, the fingers. Each joint releasing, each muscle going soft. The hands especially. We grip things all day. We hold things. We type and write and carry and do. Let the hands open now, just a little. The fingers softening, curling gently like petals, like sleeping flowers. Nothing to hold, nothing to grip. Everything is fine. The neck, long and soft. The head heavy, perfectly supported, cradled. All the thinking that the head has done today, all the processing and analyzing and worrying and planning, it can pause now. The head doesn't need to be held up. It is held. It can rest completely. The face, the jaw unclenching, the cheeks softening, the space behind the eyes releasing, the forehead smoothing out. All the tiny muscles of expression that work all day, let them rest. Let the face go completely neutral, completely soft. The face of a person sleeping, of a person at peace. The whole body, heavy and warm and completely at rest, held by the bed, held by the earth, held by gravity, held gently in the middle of a universe that has been doing this, holding things, for 13.8 billion years. You are held. The thoughts, if they come, are gentle, slow, not urgent, not demanding. They float past the way clouds float across a sky, present briefly, and then gone, replaced by the next cloud, and the next, and eventually by clear sky, and then by the dark. Not trying to sleep, not pushing toward it, just resting, just breathing, just being here, in the dark, in the quiet, in the warmth. Sleep comes on its own, when the body is ready, when the mind stops trying, when everything settles. And it is settling now, everything settling, the breath slow, the body heavy, the mind growing soft and unhurried and quiet. The stars outside, still turning, still burning. Proxima Centauri and its small red light, Sirius blazing blue-white, Betelgeuse red and vast in the shoulder of Orion. The Andromeda Galaxy, 2.5 million light-years away, each of its hundreds of billions of stars a sun, each sun perhaps circled by worlds, each world perhaps holding its own kind of night, its own kind of darkness, its own kind of rest. The universe, enormous and old and silent and beautiful. And you, here, small and warm and breathing, a temporary bright arrangement of ancient starlight, resting, resting. The breath in and out, in and out. The stars turning overhead as they have always turned, as they will always turn, going around and around in the dark, quietly, quietly. Sleep now. The universe will be here when you wake up. Everything will be fine. Everything is fine. Sleep. Part 12. The long, dark, extended sleep section. If you are still here, if sleep hasn't found you yet, if you're still floating in that warm half place between waking and dreaming, that's fine. There is more space here, more dark, more quiet. Let us go back to the stars one more time, very gently. Imagine the Milky Way as seen from very far away, from another galaxy perhaps, looking back at us. A spiral galaxy, unremarkable in its size, medium-sized among the billions of galaxies, with two main spiral arms and several smaller ones, slowly rotating, taking 225 million years to make one complete revolution. In one of those spiral arms, about 2/3 of the way out from the center, one small, ordinary, yellow-white star. Around it, 8 planets. On the third planet, a layer of blue water and white clouds. Inside the blue and white, on a small continent, in a particular region, in a particular town or city, in a particular building, in a particular room, you. That is how specific you are. That is how exactly placed. In all of the universe, in all of its billions of galaxies and trillions of stars, there is exactly one place where you are. And you are there, right now, in that specific, exact, unrepeatable location. And you are resting. The specificity of it is overwhelming if you think about it directly. But don't think about it directly. Let it just be true. Let it be simply and quietly true that you are exactly where you are, that the universe arranged itself over 13.8 billion years to produce this particular moment, this particular configuration of matter that includes you, lying here, breathing, resting. There is no accident in the physics. Everything that led to this moment follows from the moment before it, and the moment before that, in a chain of cause and effect stretching all the way back to the first moment. The Big Bang produced the first atoms. The first atoms formed the first stars. The first stars forged the first heavy elements. Those elements spread through the galaxy and formed new stars and new planets. On one of those planets, the chemistry of life began. Life evolved over billions of years. Minds emerged. You were born. You grew up. You lived your day. And now you are lying in the dark, listening to a story about stars. Every link in that chain was necessary. Every step was essential. Remove any one of them, and this moment, this exact moment, does not exist. You are necessary. You are exactly as necessary as everything else in that long chain, as necessary as the Big Bang, as necessary as the first star, as necessary as the asteroid that hit the Earth and ended the dinosaurs and made way for small mammals to inherit the planet and eventually become us. Just as necessary, just as exactly placed, just as much a part of the ongoing story of the universe. And right now, in this moment, the story the universe is telling is sleep. Let that be enough. The nebulae are out there in the dark, vast clouds of gas and dust, glowing in the light of the young stars forming inside them. The Orion Nebula, where new stars are being born right now, at this very moment. Gravity drawing gas and dust together into dense knots that will one day ignite into suns. The Eagle Nebula, with its famous pillars, enormous columns of gas and dust, each one light years tall, each one potentially containing the seeds of dozens of new stars. The universe is always making new things, even now, even in the long, quiet stretches, even in the apparent stillness, things are forming, stars igniting, planets coalescing. Somewhere, perhaps, at this very moment, the first stirrings of something that will one day become life. The universe is not tired. The universe does not rest, exactly. But you can. You can rest on behalf of the universe if you like. You can be the part of the cosmos that takes a pause, that breathes slowly, that lets the weight of itself sink into warmth and quiet. Be that part, right now. Be the quiet part, the resting part, the part that dreams. Let the images come if they want to. Stars, slow drifting in dark space. The pale blue shimmer of a frozen planet, far from any sun, alone in the interstellar quiet. The red light of a small, dim star, hanging always on the edge of the horizon of a tidally locked world. The great galaxy, seen from far away, arms slowly turning. Let the images be what they are. Let them be loose and unhurried, not stories exactly, just pictures, just impressions, just the mind doing what the mind does when it finally lets go of the day. The breath still moving, slow and automatic, no effort. The body warm and heavy, no tension. The room quiet. The night around the room quieter still. The sky above the night, and the stars above the sky, and the space above the stars. and the universe above the space. All of it going on as it has always gone on, patient and vast, and silent and beautiful. You are here. You are safe. You are resting. The stars will still be stars when you wake up. The sun will rise the way it always rises. The birds will do what birds do in the morning. The world will be there, ordinary and specific, and full of the particular texture of your own life, waiting for you.
But that is morning, and morning is not now. Now is the dark. Now is the quiet. Now is the slow, soft dissolve into sleep. Let it come. Don't reach for it. Just let the space be open. Let the mind be soft. Let the body be heavy. Let the breath be slow. And sleep will come. It always comes. It has always come. Every night of your life, sleep has come, and it will come tonight. You are safe. You are held. The universe has you. Sleep. Sleep. Good night.